Hello everyone and welcome back to Nathrandir's Guide to Everything, and welcome to a new series of which I don't have a name for yet. We're going to go with something along the lines of Nathrandir's Adventures of the Multiverse, just Adventures of the Multiverse, campaigns, quest hooks of the Multiverse. I don't really know, but I'll probably have one because it'll be in the title when this video comes out. And this series is actually inspired by some of the structure you'll find in the Critical Role campaign guide, so that's both Explorer's Guide to Wildemount and the Taldore campaign guide as well. They do something really cool with like quest hooks in there. I'm the DM for the majority of the games that I play. I've just kind of gone into that role, and I think I prefer it to playing, to be honest, although I do play sometimes as well. And essentially, whenever I'm kind of lacking creativity or I find I've got a creative block, I always just refer back to those books for the little quest hooks that they have in there. They both have this tier structure for low, mid-level, high tier, and epic level encounters, basically, or just ideas for campaigns and quests. It's really simple, but just really effective. I'd recommend it for newcomers to DMing and veteran DMs alike. It's just easy thought processes, easy inspiration to find anyway. And that's sort of what this entire series is going to be. It's going to be specifically based around monsters, some obscure ones that I didn't know about first of all, at least, and then maybe we'll take some requests as well for specific creatures. Essentially, I'm trying to improve my DM skills, improve my game knowledge, and help you all out at the same time. So each episode we're going to be choosing a monster, and I'm going to be coming up with some quest hooks, campaign hooks, adventure hooks for those monsters after going over briefly what those creatures are about. Anyway, I think that's enough rambling about what this is. Let's just get into it and you'll see. A demon that lives on the fringes of abyssal society, actively hunts other demons, has an insatiable hunger for souls, can resurrect the dead with its eyes, creates its own shadows, was born from sinful souls of ravenous gluttony, and created specifically to possess a disdain for beings of the material plane. It's the Nabasu. Though not particularly large, these demons are extremely deadly. Jet black, tough hide, bat-like wings, gaunt, gargoyle-ish. They could change their skin tone to best suit their surroundings. They are deadly, undetectable assassins, and it is said some even have the ability to paralyze their foes. Turn ethereal. They can teleport at will. It's kind of a representation of what I think would be like if an evil Batman had a baby with Ghost Rider and it just turned into the most horrifying, fiendish villain, basically. They are otherwise known as Death Stealers. They're aggressive, they have strong connections to undeath, and therefore Orcus being an example, and they are eternally hungry for souls. As mentioned, they have an enmity for those of the material plane, as they blame them for their unique living situation, which is being at the fringes of abyssal society, but also sometimes being forced into the material plane. Amongst the bits I've already mentioned as well, they can summon Cambions, Hezrus, as well as they can raise ghast and ghouls themselves. As I mentioned earlier, they can summon undead. As standard, they act fairly simply in combat from the stat block that we have. They target weaker creatures whose souls can be consumed more easily first, relentlessly using their death-stealing gaze feature, and then ravaging them with melee attacks. Once they have minions, they order them around, ambush from the shadows. I did a bit of research. It's been discussed why these creatures were actually created to begin with, and essentially it was a tactic by demons to just send these hyper-aggressive creatures to the material plane to spread fear and belief of demons, as in that realm belief kind of wills things into being, so the fear just kind of manifests itself, as it were. So the Nabasu first appeared in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, but we are covering it as of the newest book, which is Monsters of the Multiverse. It doesn't look like their stat block has changed at all, really, over there. It's just a reprint of it, basically. A lot of the monsters in there have changed, though. So here we are. As you can see, it's got fantastic stats all across the board, mainly in strength and constitution, but it's by no means dumb. 14 intelligence, 15 wisdom, 17 charisma, so it's good mental stats as well. Dark vision, good passive perception. It's a challenge rating 15 creature, so this would be a high to epic level kind of stuff, really, for the most part, unless you have quite a big party, could make it more trivial. But they have the demonic shadows, so it makes that shadow from its own body. Devour soul. When it kills a creature, it can devour the soul of that creature, and it raises its hit points by the amount of hit dice that creature had, d8s. So this thing can quickly become an absolute tank if it devours more than one creature, which is one of my quest hooks, which I'll get into in a second. It also has magic resistance, It also has magic weapons, and for its actions, multi-attack, the Nabasu uses its soul-stealing gaze and makes 2 attacks, one with its claws and one with its bite. And these are pretty scary statistics, so this is pretty much only a physical attacker with some bonus bits on top, but we have a claw to hit, 2d10 plus 6 slashing damage, which is 17 average, its bite, 4d12 plus 6, which is 32, and its soul-stealing gaze, all in one turn. Now the soul-stealing gaze as well is deadly. It's also another way for the Nabasu to gain hit points. It targets a creature within 30 feet and must succeed on a 16 charisma saving throw, or reduce its hit point maximum by 2d12, and it gives the Nabasu an equal number of temporary hit points. This reduction lasts until a short or long rest, but the crutch of this is, if this reduces a target to 0 hit points, they immediately rise as a ghoul under the Nabasu's control, quickly turning the tide of a battle if this gets off with a creature with low hit points, which in theory it could absolutely demolish pretty quickly in a round or 2. So now onto what I've created for this monster. So after some research, what we can establish is that their goals are to have access to easy souls. Basically, they are always hungry, they want to prey on the weakest creature. Also, one of the things that I haven't mentioned yet is that they do actually kind of bear a hatred for other demons as well. They're so greedy that they want to topple greater demons. Imagine them eating a greater demon soul and the hit points they would get from that, the soul that they would have, as well as all that demon's thralls as it's just killed it, and anything else that this demon had, possessions, treasure, whatever it might be, again driven by greed here. And their other goal is that they just have a hatred for almost anything, mostly denizens of the material plane. So I've come up with 3 quest hooks, 1 for high level play with a mid-level variant, and 2 for epic level encounters, just because of the CR of these creatures. I can't imagine you'll just encounter one of these on their own, which means they'll have to be mixed with other things. But anyway, let's get into it. The high level encounter, equivalent exchange. Rumours reach characters that folk are going missing from a local town. The characters are put in touch with an eccentric half-elf mage named Olin, who has been studying the phenomenon and has tracked the creature. It is currently dwelling in a local tomb, and he believes it to be demonic in nature but is unsure of its true capability. As the characters arrive at the tomb, they discover a well-fed Nabasu. Olin, in the past, had reached what he thought would be a simple agreement with a once young entity that he discovered. Magical trinkets in exchange for knowledge of the abyss. So this is where we come into a younger Nabasu first making its way onto the material plane. Twisting the deal as it quickly matured, the creature then demanded souls instead of just magical trinkets, so it quickly matured into a very deadly entity. To trap the characters within the tomb, Olin would use their Wall of Force spell. Olin could be redeemable if the characters maybe discover his intentions beforehand with a successful insight check, and that would probably reveal that he's just too frightened of the demon to break the deal or remove himself from the agreement, but I imagine he could probably be pulled on side to help with this, if the characters manage to convince him to do so, that they could actually take out this creature with all their abilities. Now a mid-level variant of this could almost rewind back in time a little bit. The characters could discover a young fiend, a young Nabasu, a juvenile one, which promises them exchange. You could keep him mysterious, keep him in the darkness, you don't quite see its true form. And maybe they're looking for information on the abyss and this demon presents itself. But yeah, so they discover this fiend, and it promises them knowledge in exchange for minor magical trinkets, which by the level they're at, they probably would have a few of. Entering into this agreement, they are quickly demanded more of, moving on to small animals to devour the souls of, and then humanoids quite quickly. It would probably lash out if the character said no. Should the character turn on the creature, an angry juvenile Nabasu could be represented by the stat block of a Malrezi, with the addition of the Devour Soul feature, so a little bit of homebrew going on there from the Nabasu itself. The juvenile fiend would probably, as its adult version would, prey on the weakest member of the party, probably fleeing if it drops below half hit points, and just prey on weaker beings, some commoners and such, you know, on a road somewhere perhaps, or from a cave. Yeah, a Malrezi is a pretty good choice for this. You just kind of reskin it as a juvenile Nabasu, and it's got decent armor, decent hit points, challenge rating of 7, it has magic resistance as well, so already it's quite a deadly thing. It can also assume the form of any creature it's eaten, so maybe you could tune the Devour Soul feature in with that to change its appearance slightly so it doesn't look so demonic, so devilish. It has a decent bite, a decent claw attack, which can paralyze. So remember what I said earlier, that some Nabasus have the ability to paralyze. Maybe this one is special, it can paralyze creatures with its bite. Or maybe that's only ability they have when they're young, because they need it to keep creatures locked down. Lots of things you can draw from here. It can also raise ghouls, Amarezi. It can target one within 30 feet, and it is raised all its hit points. It's just on a recharge of 5 or 6. So it is, in a way, a lesser version of a Nabasu already. So you don't have to do too much here. Okay, now we have the epic level encounters, which I think a creature of this kind of stock is made for, really. This one's called Opportunistic Soul Eaters. During a stay in a town or city, the characters are employed to investigate increasingly worrying signs of demonic activity. A recent influx of fiendish creatures have been emerging from nearby abandoned mining tunnels, and each creature that emerges has been more powerful than the last, so it requires attention. The planar barrier between the abyss and the material plane here is thinning within these caverns day by day. This adventure, this quest, could culminate in a meeting with a Marilith named Zarvel, who has been gradually creating a permanent rift between the two planes. When the characters arrive, Zarvel uses her ability to summon other demons, testing this newly constructed gate. It could crack open uncontrollably, and a pair of greedy Nabasu could worm their way through, named Gokhan and Urzoth, as they would seize their chance to steal a greater demon's soul. Now, it is said as well that Nabasu basically would try to be summoned as actively as possible and worm their way onto the material plane so they can take over things. But greater demons are not out of their range at all, and especially a pair of them. So this pair, Gokhan and Urzoth, they attack Zarvel before turning their attention to the characters. So what do the characters do? They could intervene in the battle and battle alongside the Marilith to attempt to defeat the two fiends, potentially gaining a demonic ally, maybe, or use as a distraction and seal the open rift, but then they're stuck with 3 demons duking out, whichever way you want to go about it. I do have a high level variant of this as well. You could just change the Marilith to a Glabrezu, which is, I think, challenge rating 9, the summoner variant, so you could summon things, and just follow the same patterns, but perhaps only one Nabasu is spawned along with a couple of other lesser demons. And now this one I didn't come up with myself, this is the last one. This is also an epic level encounter. From what I could find researching the Nabasu, there's only been one named one, like I guess in all of the Forgotten Realms lore so far that I could find, anyway, named Aklatek, and it regards an artifact known as the Soul Taker Dagger. The characters uncover a cult who have been gathering followers in order to complete a ritual to unleash a powerful Nabasu known as Aklatek, who is trapped within the artifact known as the Soul Taker Dagger. The cult already has possession of the dagger, they just need enough participants to take part in a brutal blood ritual. Say that 3 times fast. Brutal blood ritual, brutal blood. No, I can't do it. The day of the ritual swiftly approaches, and the characters need to discover the whereabouts of this cult and put a stop to the ritual. So what's the plan here? That is a much shorter, smaller seed, more like the ones in the books. I just want to give you guys longer ones so you have less to do. But you can expand on these, you can use these to inspire a completely different mission. That's all they're for. But I mean, that is essentially the video. I hope this was helpful for new DMs. Players now have a better understanding of these creatures, and veteran DMs as well. If you just need an idea, just a source of inspiration, a name for a demon, you might find it here. But that was it. Thank you so much. This has been Nathrandir's Guide to Everything. If you enjoyed this content, please leave a like, comment and subscribe, and within the comments let me know what you thought. If these were good, if you have any more quest hooks, just whack them down below. And if you want me to cover any specific creatures, I'm going to be going through Monsters of the Multiverse, the new book, with just rolling some dice and just see which random ones we get. Hopefully it's one I've never heard of before and never ran, and I can expand my knowledge as well. Yeah, but that's it. I'll stop rambling. This has been Nathrandir's Guide to Everything. This has been Adventures of the Multiverse with This has been Nathrandir's Adventures of the Multiverse. Let's go with that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.